Good morning, dear students. So, in this session, we will be discussing about circulation in various organisms. Before that, I would like to tell you that circulatory system is broadly classified into two types. The first one is the open circulatory system and the second is closed circulatory system. One major difference I'll tell you about the open circulatory system and the closed circulatory system. So, open circulatory system does not contain any kind of blood vessels. I mean, the blood pumped by the heart is directly carried to the tissues of the organisms. I mean, whichever the organisms which are having the open type of circulatory system, their blood which is being pumped by the heart directly enter to the body cavities because why? There is no presence of blood vessels. Okay, so when I talk about closed circulatory system, here the blood which is passed to the various parts of the body from the heart, they are enclosed in the blood vessels. I mean, there is presence of blood vessels, right? These blood vessels carries the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood to the organs of these organisms which is having the closed type of circulatory system. Okay, now in this lesson we are concentrating on closed type of circulatory system. Here under closed circulatory system, it is different in different organisms also. So I mean different means the pumping organ, heart, right? That looks different. I mean some organisms may have two chambered, some have three and some have four. Hence the organ of heart looks different in different type of organisms, right? So now amongst all this, first let me discuss about how the circulation takes place or how the circulatory system looks in fish. Here the fishes have two chambered heart. The fishes are having the two chambered heart, right? So these two chambers heart are called as atrium and ventricle. Here one more word I would like to tell you. Atrium is also called as auricle. So auricle and atrium, they both are same. Okay, so the two chambered, the fish is having the two chambered heart and the first chamber is atrium and the second is the ventricle, right? So then what is meant by this atrium and ventricle? You know, the atrium is the blood receiving chamber. I mean, it receives the blood from the various parts of the body to the heart, right? And ventricles are the pumping organ. I mean, it pumps the blood out of the heart. I repeat, atrium or the auricles, they are the receiving chamber, means they receives the blood. Okay, and the ventricles, they pump out whatever the blood enters to the atrium, it again flow into the ventricle. It is being released out, it is pumped out of the ventricle. Fine. So in order to keep the incoming blood and the outgoing blood separate in the heart has been separated into two different chambers. Okay, so then how the blood flows through the body of the fishes? You know, if you look at this picture, you are easily able to understand. You know, in the fish, the gaseous exchanges takes place. The gaseous exchanges takes place in the which region of the fish? It takes place in the gills. Do you remember when I talk about the gaseous exchanges in human beings? The main organ which was helping in the gaseous exchange was the lungs. But in the fishes, they do not have lungs. In spite, they have the gills. Gills are the respiratory organ of the fish. Right? Now what happened? The gills receives the oxygen from the water because oxygen is dissolved in the water. As the fishes are the aquatic animals, they live inside the water, right? The fishes, they receive the oxygen from the water and the oxygen which received from the water enter to the gills. Now these gills are richly supplied with the blood vessels, right? The blood which is pumped through the gills, the blood which is pumped to the gills get oxygenated here. and this oxygenated blood now it passes to the various parts of the body. It means in the fish the gaseous exchange takes place with the help of gills. Okay, so because of this, fishes do not have lungs. So when oxygen from the water is absorbed by the fish, this oxygen enters to the gills and the gills absorbs the oxygen. What happened? Here the oxygen becomes what is it becomes? Oxygen enters to the blood, right? Now it becomes oxygenated blood. The blood becomes oxygenated. So now this oxygenated blood now enters to the various parts of the body of the fish. In the various parts of the body, what happens? The body contains cells, right? So the various parts of the body, the fish, the cells perform the cellular respiration. Okay, what is cellular respiration, right? So cells receives the oxygen and they release the byproducts of carbon dioxide, water and energy. Similarly, what happens? Here the carbon dioxide is released out from the various cells of the body. Okay, now this carbon dioxide, once when it entered to the blood, we call that blood as deoxygenated. Means now the blood is less in oxygen, means it is poor in oxygen. The amount of oxygen present in the blood is less and the carbon dioxide is more. Now what is released into the blood? The carbon dioxide is released. The carbon dioxide from the different parts of the body now comes back. It comes back through the blood and it enters to the heart. To which part of the heart it enters? I told you, it enters to the receiving chamber. Which is the receiving chamber? It is the atrium, right? So as it enters to the atrium, the blood which enters to the atrium get again released to the ventricle. So what kind of blood is enter? The deoxygenated blood enter to the heart. To which part? To the atrium, then to the ventricle, right? So now from the ventricle, what happened? The deoxygenated blood again reaches to the gills. Okay, as the deoxygenated blood reaches to the gills, what happened? Again, from the gills, the carbon dioxide is thrown out of the body of the fishes. Right? The deoxygenated blood releases the carbon dioxide out to the external environment and the blood get again oxygenated here. How it get oxygenated? Because the oxygen enters as it respire. The blood get oxygenated and the oxygenated blood again enters to the body of the fishes. So through this, what you have understood is, so as the blood enters to the body, what happened? The blood enters to the heart only once. So here the double circulation does not take place in the body of the fishes. And the fishes are also the cold-blooded animals. So as they are cold-blooded animals, they do not need any extra energy to maintain their body temperature. So hence, the fishes can manage with the two-chambered heart. Okay? Hope you understood.